the record button. If you're able to, please come onto camera. Would love to see your smiling faces. Hope everybody had a lovely Thanksgiving. We asked this in the last class. I want to ask you in the chat box the best Thanksgiving food that you ate this past Thanksgiving. What was it? What was the best food that you ate for Thanksgiving this past week? Tyrell, the mac and cheese. Did you make the mac and cheese, Tyrell, or no? Just ate it?
No, I'm not allowed to anymore.
What happened?
My dad has like his own recipe.
Okay.
That he makes with like the whole family. And one year he let me make the mac and cheese, and there was a full consensus that I was not allowed to make it again.
Wow, your dad just does something special that you just have not learned yet. Awesome. Well, I love mac and cheese. I am in the same boat as Sophia. I had some very good cheesecake on Thanksgiving Day, which was tasty. Alexander says I heated it up. Hey, we all have responsibilities on Thanksgiving. Not one is not more important than the other. Wow, Precious, you had a nice meal. Ribs, mac and cheese, and biscuits. Yum. Jose, pumpkin pie. Chelsea says, I'm just realizing now nobody made cornbread. Man, what kind of Thanksgiving did you have, Chelsea? No cornbread? Bummer. Well, I'm glad everyone got a chance to enjoy some of their favorite foods. Now here's the controversial question that I want to ask this group. A green check if you actually really enjoy turkey, or a red X if you're like, nah, not really my thing. Okay, this proved my theory. All right, so we got 3 people saying yes, I like turkey. 8 saying no, not really. I have a theory that says nobody really likes turkey. We just eat it out of tradition. And this is why, because what other time in the year do you eat turkey? What other holiday do you eat turkey? Never. So it's like something that's like I eat it literally one time a year, just out of tradition. Nobody actually likes it. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. All right. Oh, Hispanics make it on Christmas as well. All right. At medieval festivals, yeah, that's true. You can eat a turkey leg at a medieval festival. Those are pretty tasty. Cold cuts are good. All right, so here's another fact as we're going along the lines. Did you know that Benjamin Franklin wanted to make the turkey the national bird of America? Isn't that interesting? So he said eagle, why are we going to do an eagle? An eagle is like a predatory bird. It like swoops down, just like eats, right? Like eats, I was gonna say eats rice, eats mice, eats rats, eats fish. Like it's just a mean bird. A turkey is, a better bird. Do we really want our nation to be associated with an eagle? That's a mean bird. So then I was wondering, if a turkey was the national bird of America, do you think that we would eat eagles for Thanksgiving? Just a random thought. That's all I have. Anyways, probably not. Yoel says, yeah, I don't think so either. So almost the national bird was a turkey, and now we eat every year for Thanksgiving. And I'm convinced that most people don't actually like it. I'm of the same persuasion. You're not on point today, Eric. Yeah, I ate too much turkey. My brain has turned into stuffing. All right, let's go ahead and get started on our class, shall we? So, Brian, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
How are you, Brian?
Very tired. How are you?
Oh, also very tired. I'm glad to know we're in the same boat, hence why I'm drinking my coffee. Brian, how's your Thanksgiving?
It was really nice overall, but the vacation felt really short. It went by pretty fast.
Yeah, what did you get up to during your vacation?
Honestly, I spent at home the whole time, but I enjoyed the time off I had from Europe and the time to relax.
I love it. So I know you've already done this once, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Right. So I'm from Elmhurst, Queens.
Cool.
I think I said this fun fact before, that I've never broken a bone in my body.
That's right. I do remember that.
That I could think of now is that I played the violin for about 8 years.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty neat. So you must have been pretty good then.
I stopped like about 5 years ago, so maybe if I pick it up, I'll find out, but I'm not too sure.
Wow, and Sophia also played the violin. See, I'm telling you, we get quite the musicians in this crew. I guess you start your own band. I swear. Just don't make it happen. Randy plays the world's smallest violin. What does that mean? What's this?
It's for the sad souls. So
I think it's from SpongeBob. That's what I remember it from.
All
it's
right.
the crab plays.
Okay, the crowd plays that. So Brian plays the violin. And what is a question that you want to pose to the group today, Brian?
What's the biggest thing you've learned from Europe so far?
Wow. All right. Awesome. So as people put in the chat box, what's the biggest thing they learned from Europe so far? Brian, what is the biggest thing you learned so far?
Definitely writing things down. Like when it comes to deliverables, it really helps you get them done, and it leaves no room for error to like miss an assignment or something, anything like that.
Yeah. So writing things down for sure. Very important. I love it. Precious, you wrote being positive. Why is that a big learning for you?
Because I feel like no matter like what troubles you go through, like it's always good to keep a positive mindset through it.
Mm-hmm. And you also put being on time, Precious. Was that hard for you at first?
Yes, because I was always the late child, like all through elementary school. Like even though school started at 8, I was the one coming in at 9. And then in college, I always started at night classes, so everything was just late to me.
All right, Precious. I have a follow-up question. Are you one of those people that like when you hang out with your friends and they text you and they say, "Hey, where are you?" and you say, "I'm right around the corner," and you haven't even left the house yet? Are you one of those people?
Yes. Oh wow.
Okay. See, every group has one person who's always like I'm around the corner. I'll be there in 10 minutes, and they haven't even got dressed and not even walking out the house. They're still 2 hours away. All right, that's all right. Randy, you're out working from home is something that you want to do. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I have no intention on taking a train or trying to go to work. I like getting up 20 minutes before I have to, be on camera. I think that's pretty cool. I can make my own lunch. My bathroom is 5 feet from me. I don't have to worry about, anybody wondering what I'm doing in there. And not, and then, my TV's here, my music is here. So I don't know. I just feel more comfortable in my own space. But yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that's a learning that you have. Now, here's my follow-up for you, Randy. Are you going to stay in New York even if you work from home, or are you going to try to move?
Well, I just signed my lease for 2 years, so
you're staying.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere, and my rent is really cheap, so I'm definitely not going anywhere.
I hear you. That's always been like my dilemma is like if I ended up working from home indefinitely, would I stay in New York or would I move elsewhere? But yeah, I don't think I would move. I think I would probably still stay. That's really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Tyrell, feedback is for you to get better, not downgrade you. Talk about that.
I used to think like feedback is like constructive criticism, but more criticism and more cynicism than anything else. But going through and up until this point, the feedback I've gotten, I've tried to implement, and it's worked out for the better.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. Feedback is definitely a gift, and it certainly is a learning for sure to accept it as such. It's very easy to feel like it's people being critical or being nitpicky, but yeah, that's really important. Let's hear from Justice. What's been your biggest learning in Europe so far, Justice Santiago?
I think really building a work ethic, because before Europe, I literally would just do, I guess, whatever I felt like doing at the time. But now I sort of am able to think about a schedule and become accustomed to changes and things to that schedule.
Awesome, Justice. I love it. Yeah, so something I listened to a podcast over the break, which I thought was really interesting, talking about time management and how valuable your time is. So just out of curiosity, like in the chat box, what do you think like 1 hour of your time is worth right now at this point in your life? In the chat box, 1 hour of your time, what is that worth? Alex says $50. More than 15.50. Yeah, probably. $100 an hour, $40 an hour. All right. Depends on the task. I'm just saying in general, an hour of your time right now. So let's say this. Let's say if you're my age, your time's probably worth like $40 an hour, right? Because I'm a little bit further along in my life. Like I'll probably live like, I don't know, 40 more years. But if you're like 18, 19, 20, your time's worth a lot more than my time, isn't it? Because you have a lot more years left in your life than I do. So let's go ahead and say your time's worth $75 an hour. I'm going to do a little math problem with all of you. $75 an hour. And let's say you spend 5 hours per day doing things that are time wasters, because Justice's point made me think of this. So this includes social media, video games, watching TV, looking at YouTube videos, whatever. 5 hours a day times 7 days a week, 35 hours per week. You spend doing things that are time wasters, right? We all do. 35 hours a week. You can see my screen there. That's how much hours you spend per week. Times that by a year, 1,820 per year. And how much should I say our time was worth? 75 an hour. So some food for thought. $136,500 per year. I'm not saying you do this. I'm saying we collectively, 5 hours a day, if our time's worth $75 an hour, spend before taxes. Yes. Thank you, Randy, for the clarity. So think about that for a moment. $136,000 a year is a lot of money. So when you're thinking about, I can buy a house with that. Yeah, you could. You buy a very nice house with that for sure. So just some food for thought as we think about the second part of our learning and development phase. How am I utilizing my time? Am I utilizing it well? And Justice, you prompted me to think of that podcast. So thank you for that. All right, Brian, thanks for being today's assistant instructor. Just a reminder, Brian, if a hand goes up or if somebody puts something in the chat box, you can let me know and I'll be happy to field that. But we are going to begin our lesson on Scrum and Agile. We're going to spend the whole entire week talking about that. And then believe it or not, folks, next week is finals already. So it's hard to believe that our mod is coming to an end. Sadly, I know you're going to cry. It's okay. You don't have to cry. Wow, that's really, really bright. I look like a ghost. Sorry about that. Sorry to share with you guys, I will not be your instructor in mod 3. You'll no longer have me, which is very sad. I know this is our last 2 weeks together. It's okay. Just know that, I'm always here for you. Just email me, just not today because it doesn't work. But in the future, if you ever want to have a virtual coffee or catch up, I'm always available. So you are my favorite. Oh, Angie, you probably said it to all your instructors. I don't believe you. Sophia, I don't believe any of you guys. I know it's whack, but Advanced Excel is next, and I believe that you guys are taking it with someone else. But things could change because sometimes things change. All right. Brian, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. The wild, wonderful world of Scrum. Let's start with the basics. Raise your hand or put in the chat box. What do you already know about Scrum or Agile as a method of project management? Let's start there so I kind of know who we're working with here. So in the chat box or raise your hand, what do you already know? And hint, we've already talked about it a little bit, so everybody should know something. Brian, do you want to call on whoever has their hand up? I can't see it because of my screen.
Yeah, so for only Angie, so go ahead.
Yeah, Angie.
I think Scrum is the waterfall method, and the waterfall is like something for like long-term project, and then Agile is something that you have to do like while it happens.
Yeah, close. So Scrum and Agile are the same, and they're different than Waterfall. So Waterfall is what we've discussed for the last 5 weeks, which is like the A to Z completing a project. And Agile is exactly what you just said, Angie. That's the kind of smaller projects that you keep reiterating as you go. Thanks, Angie. Anybody else have a comment in the chat box or a hand raised, Brian?
No, there's no one else.
Okay, cool. Precious says my heart is broken. Wow, Precious, I am really sorry to hear that. Anyways, Sophia, I see your hand.
Yeah, so Scrum is like very based on customer satisfaction, and
Yes.
they really will change things as they go instead of just having an end result. Like in Waterfall, they have end results after every, I forget what they're called, but like the periods of time where they work on stuff, and then they'll make adjustments as needed.
That is 100% correct, Sophia. I love it. You have much more interaction with the client in a Scrum or Agile method. than you would in Waterfall. Waterfall, it's sort of like, here's what we want done. And then when the product is finished, then they show it to the client or the customer, whereas the client or customer becomes much more dynamic in the process. So real quick, here is traditional project management, to Angie's point earlier, Waterfall project management, and then there's agile project management. So as you can see on the left, there's a more organizational, linear, step-by-step process. We call it a waterfall because it's like a waterfall that you would see in beautiful Ithaca, New York, right, Sophia? It starts at the very top and it works its way down. It's like a waterfall. Whereas agile, it's more iterative. It's constantly changing. You go through these small periods called sprints, which we will talk about later on in today's lecture. And requirements are not only are normal, but to be expected. Where there's and the client has a lot of involvement. So just out of curiosity, give me a green check if you look at these two and you think, man, I want to stay in traditional, I would prefer traditional, or a red X if you said, no, actually, I think I would prefer agile, looking at these two models. So next to your name, green check, you prefer traditional, red X, you prefer agile. And as you guys do that, I'm going to figure out how to close this blind so I don't look like Casper the Friendly Ghost. There we go. Better, a little bit better. All right, Brian, are we seeing more green checks or more red X's?
We're seeing a lot more green check.
Okay, do me a favor, Brian, call on somebody who hasn't spoken yet that has a green check, and I want to talk to that person.
Yoel has a green check. You could go.
All right, Yoel, why do you prefer the traditional over the agile? What do you think?
So I guess just to make your life easier, you would hope that everything goes according to plan and there's no there's no constant changes or tweaks that have to be made along the way because it'll make your life harder.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, agreed. So that's one of the things that's really good is that you know from start to finish what to be expected. And Brian, can you call on somebody that has a red X why they would prefer agile over traditional?
Sophia has a red X.
Yeah, Sophia, what interests you about agile?
I don't know. I just think that in today's day and age, like everything changes so quickly, and I feel like agile kind of lines up with that more than the traditional way. Like, especially with everything being online. Like, I think it's good to have agile because think it's already hard to communicate. So I think if you use agile, then you'll be very sure like what your clients or what your customers want at all times, like not just at the end.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're able to keep the client satisfied much more in the agile method for sure. And here's the thing, there's not a right or wrong way. There's just different preferences depending on the nature of the project. So how do you know which one should I use? So you're a project manager, you're working at a company, and it's time to start a project, and you have to decide, am I going to go agile or am I going to go traditional waterfall? The first question you should ask yourself, is the project complex? And by complex, it means, is it going to need different iterations? Is it going to need constant tweaking? If so, then agile is probably the better bet. Agile is very popular with software, very popular in tech projects for the building a website, building an app. Most people use agile for that because of its complexity. And adaptability, same sort of deal. If you need a lot of that, agile. And then the last thing, what Sophia said, and she's absolutely right, do you need changes and feedback from the client? If so, yes, you want to make sure that you go agile. So like I share, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just what works best for the project. All right. So this is the process. So there's a few things that you're going to recognize right away, similar to the waterfall technique. Let me go ahead and get my thing out here. So the very first thing you're going to notice that's different is the product backlog. So you're probably thinking, wait, what exactly is that? What that is everything that needs to get done for the project to be done to completion. All right, so this is very similar to our project charter that we talked about in a previous discussions on Waterfall. This is everything from A to Z that needs to get done in traditional project management. Like this is your guiding light, okay, of what needs to be accomplished. But in Scrum, it's just the first step. One thing you'll also notice is here, the product owner, this is sort of like the project manager, but not really. So the interesting thing is that in Agile and Scrum, you have the Scrum Master and you have the product owner. Both of these people manage the project, but they manage different components of it, which I'll explain here in a few minutes. So what happens is the product owner and the team get together. And the interesting thing with the team is that the team has a lot more say in the process of how things go with the project as they would in traditional waterfall methods, because they actually decide together at what's called the sprint planning meeting. What are we going to move from the product backlog into the sprint backlog? And what are we going to spend the next 1 to 4 weeks working on? So this is called a sprint. So just like if you're going to go outside right now and run a sprint, that means you're going to run as fast as you can. Same sort of deal with this, is that you're going to get as much work as you can accomplish within 1 to 4 weeks. And you're going to have this little thing here, which is very powerful. Every 24 hours, you're going to have a 15-minute stand-up meeting. All right. So that you do that, you do it that way. Then you do that for 1 to 4 weeks, depending on how long the team decides that you need to complete the sprint backlog that you have for that particular sprint. And then what you do is then you show it to the review to the client and the retrospective, which we'll talk about later on this week, the finished work. All right. So imagine that we're going to workshop this out. Okay. So imagine that you're designing an app that that it plays football on your phone. All right. So you have like an NFL app, you're playing football on your phone. It's a lot of fun. And you have your team together and you got the basic technology done. But the next thing you have to do is you have to design the uniforms. All right. So what you do is you have all these tasks that need to get done here. The team, the product owner, you have your sprint planning meeting, sprint backlog. We're going to design the uniforms for all the teams, their away jerseys, their home jerseys, their special jerseys. And we're going to need 2 weeks to complete this. And we're going to go ahead and spend those 2 weeks on the sprint. All we're doing these 2 weeks is designing the jerseys. All right. And then you go to your finished product, you show it to your customer, and then your customer says, oh, wait, you made the Jets jerseys, green and yellow, but they're actually green and white, right? That's a pretty easy fix. You can fix that in a matter of a few minutes or a few hours. But imagine in the event that you got everything done for the whole entire app, it was completely finished. You try to show it to the client and they were like, wait, this is all totally wrong. That would be really difficult. So the sprint idea is, let's take smaller chunks of work. Let's do them as quickly as we can. Show them to the client. Okay, it's approved. Now we're back to where we started. Product backlog, sprint planning meeting, sprint backlog, 1 to 4 weeks, 24-hour stand-ups, show to the client again. And you keep repeating that process until the product is done. So that's the Scrum process and how it's different than traditional waterfall project management. All right, I said a lot there. We'll keep on going. Take a look at this chart while I take a sip of water because my throat's really dry from talking so much. All right. So as I said earlier, you don't have a traditional project manager in Scrum. You have 2 individuals. One individual is called the product owner. One is called the Scrum Master. All right. The product owner is sort of like a project manager. Like I said, this is the person who is in control of the product. This is the person who's very detail oriented, who wants every little thing to be accomplished up to perfect task. This is the person that you really want to make sure is leading this project because he or she cares about the fine details of a project being completed as it should be. The Scrum Master, this is the person who's really the people person on the team. They interact not only with the product owner, but with the development team, with the stakeholders, with the project sponsors, to make sure that everything goes according to the Scrum methodology, which I just shared. There is no equivalent to this in traditional project management, but this is a really unique position. And later on, I'll talk about salaries for someone like this because you might be surprised at how much someone like this would earn. And the last one is a development team. And the amazing thing about Scrum is in Waterfall, you're on a team, you're essentially told by the project manager, hey, I need you to do these tasks, these deliverables, get this part of the job done. But when you're on a development team in Scrum, you are self-organizing and you have say in the best way to do things. So it's a much more flat hierarchical structure, as opposed to someone just telling you do this, do this, do this. The team all works together to make even the circle approach what you're seeing here to achieve the goal and achieve the deliverable. So that's what the roles are to collaborate together. The product owner, Scrum Master together are the project managers. Development team works with these people to achieve the goal. And then, I don't know, can you guys see that okay? Or should I change my, you guys can see that? Hold on. I'm going to try something I haven't tried before. It's a little hack that I learned. Portion of screen. Let's see how this works. Hey, look at that. Is that easier to read? Okay. So traditional characteristics, as you can read here, you all have the ability to see that. So I'm not going to go into in detail. So everything we're discussing, client involvement, the restart cost. Go ahead and scroll down. Yeah, I never actually used this feature before. It's kind of cool. I can just show like a portion of my screen. I can show you like less or more. This is amazing. Wow. All right, so that's the difference between the two. Let me go ahead and do a new share screen, the whole screen now. All right. So here's the difference between these two roles. The product owner versus the Scrum Master. All right. Product owner, vision, product collaboration. I know it's kind of hard to see with this. My presentation got a little bit cut off. I apologize for that. But this person, they really care about the product. That's their end goal. That's their end game. That's what they think about. That's what they value. Okay. This person, the Scrum Master, they care about the process and they care about the people that are involved, effective collaboration, setting commitments that are realistic. So I want to ask a question to the group because I've been talking for a long time. Raise your hand. What happens if you don't have a good product owner on a project? What could go wrong? Someone want to raise their hand and take a shot at it? Someone who doesn't care about the product in a way that's up to standard. What could go wrong if you have that type of person? And if not, I'll make Brian call on you and I won't even feel bad about it. So raise your digital hand unless you want to, if you want to save your colleagues. Going once, going twice. Okay. Up. Randy Borden coming through. All right, Mr. Randy. Why is having a product owner who's competent so critical?
I may be like 100% wrong with this, but they can kind of hinder your progress, or they may not care about, the overall quality of it. So if you, let's say like a manufacturing company for cars, if he doesn't care about how the car is made, you might end up with, trash wheels or a bad engine or Starlight wheels and stuff like that. Like, maybe I could be, I don't know, taking a stab at it.
You are not you are 100% wrong. You are 100% right. That is completely correct. You cannot have a product owner who's laissez-faire about whatever, if it's sloppy, if it's ugly, if it doesn't work, who cares? You have to have somebody who is really, really into details and really cares about every fine point as your product owner. That's a really critical function for sure. Justice, I see your hand. Yes, sir.
I wanted to add on to what Randy said, and like I guess, and give an example, because usually in media and stuff like that, like certain movies and stuff will show the perspective of the product owner who's not like good, and he's like rushing the team. And usually sometimes the team won't have enough time to finish what they can. And it results in, like, I guess a lot of people like just overall and the team just like getting hurt and stuff like that.
Yes, absolutely. The product owner, if this person doesn't put realistic expectations on their team, the team gets burnt out. They get frustrated for sure. A really good point. Thank you so much, Justice. And the Scrum Master, this is the person who's really in charge of the collaboration with the team, the organization around the project being completed, and then works with the product owner to make sure that the team is well cared for. So if the product owner is the detail person, the Scrum Master is the people person. So why is having a person like a Scrum Master so important on the success of a project? Someone want to raise their hand and take a stab at it? All right, Brian, you want to call on somebody for me?
I'm gonna look so evil if I call on somebody.
All right, you want me to be the bad guy then? I don't mind.
I could call on somebody.
Come on, Brian, you got it. You got it in you. Just pull out the dark side.
Let's see. Alexander, maybe.
All right, Alexander, why is having a Scrum Master so important to the process?
Well, because you have a team. I was taking notes, so I didn't hear the question the first time. So I'm just thinking about it now. Because you have a team and like you need to be able to. So you said the Scrum Master is the person who's a people person, and the product owner pays attention to details. So sometimes when you're just focusing on the details, like you can lose the people aspect of it and forget that, you know, the people on your team have emotions and, you know, lives outside of this. So definitely important to have that guy who's just keeping everybody in check and like making sure everybody's all right and on track to get the project done.
Absolutely, Alexander. Thank you so much for that answer. You're 100% right. You have to make sure you have the person who's going to keep the team on track. And you want to make sure that you have the product manager who's cares about the details, who sweats the details, who makes sure that it's proficient and what it needs to be. So I know you guys might be interested in this. So take a guess in the chat box. How much does a product manager make in a given year in New York City? In the chat box, what do you think the salary is? Brian says 120K. Angie says 6 figures. Yoel 80. Tyrell 130. Alexander 200. There you go. 128,000 is the median salary. So pretty good. Total comp 144. Not bad, right? Life would be pretty good with 144,000 a year. So let's take a look.
That seems low.
That seems low. It is a lot of work for sure to be for the job.
In New York City, are you sure?
That's what it says. And then anyone take a guess at the Scrum Master? How much does that person make? The people person? Less. 10K less. Half. 90. Scrum Master makes 111,000 plus total additional cash, 128. So pretty lucrative gigs. I mean, maybe not to Alex's standard, but to mine, making 128K, that's kind of a lot of money to me. Maybe some people don't feel like that's a lot, but to me, it's a lot of money. So just shows you that these are positions that are
I'm just saying some people get paid like 600K for like, I mean, I can't think of anything that would be more tough than being a PM. I don't know.
True. You got a really fair point, because like you're managing not just products, but also people, right? And stakeholders and sponsors. You're getting hit from every direction for sure. You probably make a lot more money doing something different. Yes. Angie says 600K on what? I want that job.
I don't know. I saw a commercial and there was this, I don't know.
All right, let's look it up. Google's our friend. Highest paying jobs, NYC. This is not even right. The very first thing that popped up was general manager, 70,000 a year. That can't be right.
All I know is that there's people that make like that salary on like well, this is just one thing I know, but like some people will get hired outside as like a contractor by like banks, and they get paid like 2K a day just to do like work on this project or something. So it's crazy.
Well, yeah,
money that some people will get paid.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a contractor or like someone like that, like there's no limit on how much you can earn. Like you're a small business owner at that point. So just to give you an idea, if you want to get a job as a neurosurgeon, which is, you know, doing surgery on people's brains, the average salary is 619,000 a year, with the average bonus of 148,000. So that's about 800,000 a year to be a neurosurgeon. So yeah, anyways, it just goes to show $120,000 to $150,000 a year are what these roles are thinking about. So let's talk about this for a minute. We're gonna do an activity. So you have the product owner And then you have the Scrum Master. All right, these are two different people that work together to achieve the project. So do me a favor in the chat box, because we're gonna do this together as a group. If you were to guess, what would I do better as, a product owner or a Scrum Master? Me, Eric, your instructor. Which one do you think I'd be better at? A Scrum Master, a people person, or a product owner, a product person? In the chat box, what do you think I would be better at? I see lots of Scrum Masters. I see one owner, Scrum Master. You guys have nailed me so well. I'm definitely much more interested in people than I am products. It's just how I'm wired. I just don't have that attention to detail that you need as a product owner. So I would definitely be much better as a Scrum Master. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to put you into groups of 2 to 3 people, and you have to guess what you think the other person would prefer to do. All right. You just say, like, you know what, Randy, I could totally see you as a blank. You know what, Precious, I totally see you as a blank, and try to guess each other. See how well you know your colleagues. All right. Are you more of a people person or more of a product person? All right. Go to your rooms. Hey, Jose, Sarai, you guys able to go to your rooms? Hey, Jose, you there? You were really good at guessing your colleagues' ability. A red X if you're like, wow, I need to get to know my colleagues a little bit better. Oh, hey, look at that. All right, Chels, tell us your secret sauce. How do you know your colleagues so well? How are you able to guess if they're more of a product person or a people person?
Well, the secret is being in a class with only 15 people. You know, it's really easy to see people and ask them questions and just hear their responses to things. Well, we all agreed. Well, I knew, like, I could tell everybody's a people. Well, I was with Alex and Precious. They're people. That's what I called it, people.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized I just bullied Alex, so maybe I'm not a people person. But maybe it's just him. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing.
It's
So
okay,
that
I
was,
forgive.
it's okay. Wow, Alex, that is so beautiful. Thank you. Definitely in the holiday spirit, the spirit of the holidays, to be forgiving to people. I love it. All right. So now give me a green check if you said I'm a product person, or a red X, I'm more of a people person. Which one do you self-identify as?
Wait, can we do both? Is there like a thing for both?
Yeah, I mean, which one would you lean towards, I guess is my question. Because everybody is both. Yeah, Randy, it's a good catch. Everyone's both. Which one do you lean towards?
Wait, you said which one was which?
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
the red X or
yeah. Green check is you're more of the product person. Red X is you're more of a people person. All right, Rescience, let's hear from you, being more of a product person. Tell us about about yourself and why is being a product person so important.
Well, being a product owner is so important because without the attention to detail, there's a great deal of possibility that the original product that the product that you create would deviate from its intended purpose, or that it would just fail what it is supposed to do.
Exactly, Rescience. That's why people like you are so important in project management, to keep the attention to detail. Jose, you said you're more of a product person as well. Tell us about that. Like, what's like something that you do in your life that's like you're really detail oriented about? It could be something as simple as like when you wash a dish, you get every last bit clean. Is that kind of how you're wired?
Yeah. The way I fold my bed a specific way every single time. My bed sheets, the way things are placed in my room have to be a certain way. Yeah, I just like being organized a certain way.
Awesome. Yeah, very important to be organized and to have that. Yeah, you could say that's OCD or can just say it's strong organization. Love it. Thank you so much, Jose. What do you think? Do you think it's OCD or just your personality, Jose?
I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm like, what's that guy Christian Bale plays in American Psycho?
No idea.
You never seen American Psycho?
Batman? That's
Was it Jeffrey Dahmer? I think it is.
No, it's not Jeffrey Dahmer. He's a banker. He's a banker, and every like details he goes over every single detail, and he's like comparing. He's comparing. It's this funny scene. He's comparing business cards with like one of his colleagues, and he's like, look at the off-white coloring, and then his is like bone, and they both look white, but he knows like the difference, like the subtle differences between them. So yeah.
Like eggshell white and like
Alex knows what I'm talking about. That's my
Okay, so Jose, you're that kind of person. You would look at two business cards and say this color is different than this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so important. I mean, to share from my personal life. Like right now, I'm building a website for a company that I work with, and like I'm more of the Scrum Master, and my colleague, she's more of the product owner, and she's like, "There's like 1/8 of an inch indent here that there shouldn't be on this page," and I'm like looking like, "No, there isn't. I don't see anything." She's like, "No, definitely is, Eric. You need to call the designer," and I'm like, all right, I'll call her and let her know, but I don't see anything. But you need to have both. Like you need to have that person who's going to notice those little tiny things and the person who's going to be the people person. All right, Precious, even though you fired me last week, you say you're a people person. So why is being a people person so important in the success of a project, and how do you do it when you're leading a team?
To answer your first question, I feel like everybody's idea matters. Like it's not always about like what you're planning. Like if you're working in a group, it's always good to hear everybody's idea. Like put it on the table because you could always mix it up and like put your own little mix. So I don't know how to like put it in words.
Sorry.
But I feel like it's not always about you. It's like also about like what the other person thinks. Because sometimes the other person idea could be way better than what you thought.
Yeah. But that's never the case with me. It's all my idea is always the best idea. I'm just kidding. All right, let's go ahead and read an article, take a break. Thank you, Precious. Thank you, Jose. And thank you, Rescience. Come back at 1:30. Thanks, guys. I read the article I just put in the chat box too. All right, folks, it's 1:30. Let's make our way back to our desk. Do me a favor, in the chat box, write down what was one takeaway or one thing that was interesting that you read in that article about this woman who renovated her kitchen using the agile process. What was something in the chat box you want to write down that you thought was interesting, surprising, kind of cool? I have a few things that I want to share as well, but I want to start off by hearing from you. So Brian, you said the fact that she had fun while working, that surprised you. Definitely surprised me too. In-person communications, number one. Nice that got done in 1 week. Definitely, Chelsea. For those of you who are kind of uncertain, to renovate a kitchen probably takes about a month, 2 to 4 weeks. I think it's pretty standard. So they did it very quickly, 7 days for sure. Yeah, Tyrell, let's do you mind unmuting yourself? So what is how would this be different if this person said, let's do the traditional project management approach? How would it be different in terms of what she did with her team?
She went by having things done by this date instead of like blocking out everything and doing it by day.
Exactly. We talked earlier about the sprint. She's like, we need this done by the end of the day today. That's your sprint. All right, that needs to get done today. Awesome. Angie, you put that she adapted changes of plans, that you like that. Why was that so important in this project? What do you think, Angie?
Because many people usually get stuck with like an idea. So if they don't solve it, like their brain just get blocked. But she was able to just be like, oh, if this doesn't work here, let's just put it in another place. So she didn't waste time. So I really like that.
Yeah, thank you, Angie. That was one of the things that I liked about her philosophy as well. She's like, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be done well. And if things don't go the way we think they're going to, we're going to keep moving forward and making a plan. Jose, you said she was 5'2" and pregnant. Yes, I thought that was very interesting. You know, usually when people are, women are pregnant, maybe that's the time they want to rest. But here she was renovating her kitchen, which was pretty cool. She was short. She was able to, how short she was able to get it done. Sophia says, yep, for sure. Finished in 7 days. Yep, love it. And Randy, you're right. That was an interesting point. That the contractors were multi-skilled. They were able not just to do plumbing, but they also did hanging up the drywall or redoing the shelving, which was great. Yeah, Chelsea, do you mind unmuting yourself? Why do you think her involvement helped speed up the process? Like, what do you think her presence there did to the workers, as opposed to being like, here's the keys to the house and see you later?
So technically, well, I guess for the project, she's the boss. So her being there, she's making sure everything is done the way she wants it done. Nothing is done incorrectly. And like what was said, she said, okay, I want this done by this time. Well, not this time, but by this day.
Mhm.
So her being there kind of like, well, definitely holds them accountable and watching over them, especially her being pregnant, guilting them into, not guilting, but just really making them work.
Yeah, well, we literally have a time crunch here because I'm going to deliver this baby, so we can't mess around. I love it. And yeah, Sophia, the daily stand-ups, which I thought was great, and I loved how she said at first they were kind of like, "What is this? Like, this isn't how we work." But she's like, "Listen, we're going to spend 15 minutes every day talking about what did we do yesterday, and what are we going to do today, and what are our blockers." And it's amazing how how you guys begin to see how wow, when you do this stuff, you can really be productive. Right. And I think this article really speaks to that a project that normally takes about a month to complete happened in a week, because this woman, as a stakeholder, and as a customer, and as the project sponsor, and as the boss, was involved heavily the whole entire time, as opposed to, okay, you guys are going to redo my kitchen. Okay, just call me when you're done. Goodbye. But her being there really kept the ball rolling. Yeah, I like it too, Angie. I think it's pretty powerful. So now, next time you do a project, you can think through, how can I use some of these components to make the project the best it can be. All right, Mr. Brian, thank you so much for being a fabulous assistant instructor. Can you just do me a small favor and read our deliverables that are due this week in the chat box?
Thank you, Eric. Yeah. It says, watch 20-minute video, what is Scrum, and post thoughts by tomorrow night at 11:59. Respond to at least 2 posts by Thursday night at 11:59. And elevator speech video due Thursday at 11:59.
Thank you, Brian. I just want to spend about 60 seconds talking about the elevator speech video. What I want you to do for that, if you haven't looked at it yet, which you probably have not because Schoology did not work last week, which reminds me, I'm also going to grade all of your stuff today. That's why I didn't grade it last week. I apologize for the delay. But the elevator speech, what that is I want you to find a job that you might be interested in pursuing, whether it's after you're up or down the road. Look in the job description and try to find project management functions within that role. Then I want you to imagine that you're sitting in on an interview and your interviewee says, hey, I noticed that you have some project management experience. What do you know about project management and how does that apply to this role? And what I want you to do is you can just use your phone or you can use your webcam, whatever. I want you to create a 3-minute video explaining everything, kind of what we talked about this past mod with project management and how you would answer that question in an interview and upload that onto Schoology. Okay. So what I want to see is that you guys have a good grasp on the concepts. So when someone asks you like, oh, well, what do you know about project management? You can give them an answer that makes sense. Okay. Someone asked in the last class, the answer is yes. If you're more comfortable with writing down your response and then just reading it back, that's fine too. But you will be graded on things like eye contact, inflection of voice, organizing your thoughts, all those things. So if you answer it like this the whole entire time, you're gonna lose points. So don't do that. So just you write it down, internalize it, but be prepared to answer that. That's due on Thursday. And like I shared, finals is next week. I'll share later on this week what that's going to look like for project management. I'm still figuring that out, but that's coming up. So just be prepared. Any closing thoughts or questions before we wrap it up for the day? Okay, guys, I enjoyed being with you. Have a great rest of the day and see you tomorrow.